In an isolated valley of Argentina, fossil hunters are on the deadly trail of a dinosaur, a killer from the prehistoric past. Dinosaurs didn't invent killing. They perfected it. Now the hunters become the hunted, as paleontologists close in on the rise of the predators. Cretaceous night, 125 million years ago. A new terror lurks in the primeval forest. The hunter is new, but the hunt itself has been choreographed long ago and far away. A jagged stretch of sun-baked desert in west-central Argentina is aptly named Valley of the Moon, in the native tongue Ishigualasto. Here, in the distant past, some cataclysmic upheaval tore a gash in the earth, striking the mother lode of fossils, a vein some 50 miles long and 900 feet thick. Scattered everywhere here are bones for the taking.
For paleontologists, you usually spend days and sometimes weeks carefully scrutinizing the ground, walking always in the heat and always in the desert, trying to find fossils. And then when you do find one fossil or two or three, it's a great discovery. And here in Ishigualasto, the minute you enter the valley, you start seeing fossils. And your problem is not discovering them, but trying to decide which ones you want to keep.
William Sill has come here in search of the holy grail of paleontology, the first predatory dinosaur. 230 million years ago, the Valley of the Moon was a very different place, a lush forest full of strange creatures. Lumbering through the undergrowth was a harmless little reptile the size of a pig who grazed on plants. It was a rhynchosaur, slow-moving and dim-witted, and a long-time inhabitant of the Triassic jungle. The rhynchosaur probably never noticed the newcomer to the forest until it was too late. The predator would one day be called Eoraptor, the dawn thief.
That was the meat-eating, the rapacious kind that leaped out of the dawn, attacked those poor little rhynchosaurs in their nests, tearing them apart, just loving every minute of it. Huge claws on his fingers, vicious attitude, sharp teeth. Oh, he had a great time.
The newcomer with a vicious attitude and with teeth and claws to match was the most primitive dinosaur ever found.
Here's the site where Eoraptor was found, one of the most remarkable discoveries that have been made in Ishigualasto, and gives us our insight into this predators of remarkable nature and what they became afterwards. Eoraptor was found by a young paleontologist by the name of Paul Sereno's expedition, but actually it was Ricardo Martinez that found it after a month and a half of searching and not finding anything. And then one day he decided to get down on his hands and knees and look over this spot at every single rock, and that's how we found it.
Smaller than a human hand, the skull of the Eoraptor hardly seems worth the fanfare. But for University of Chicago paleontologist Paul Sereno, this tiny predator marks the beginning of momentous things.
Eoraptor comes closer to the common origin of dinosaurs, the ancestral dinosaur, so to speak, than any other animal we've ever discovered before. It's two-legged and it's versatile in the way it could move across the ground, and there was nothing quite like that before. And we think that this actually characterizes all dinosaurs at the beginning.
The Valley of the Moon has been kind to Paul Sereno. 3 years before he discovered Eoraptor, his team uncovered the most complete skeleton ever found of one of the first spin-offs of Eoraptor's cunning predatory design. Called Herrerasaurus, it would prove to be bigger and even nastier than Eoraptor. Today, a jubilant William Sill and his team have found a Herrerasaurus of their own. It is exquisitely complete and chilling in its details.
Here we've found just this last week a new skeleton of a Herrerasaurus. A beautiful skeleton, complete skull, vertebral column, most of the limbs. From the skull especially, you can see by the long, recurved, biting, grasping teeth that he was a very active predator. The recurved teeth allow him to sink his teeth into a prey, and the prey cannot get away. It's just like a fish hook. That the limbs were completely rotated under the body, and the fact they were bipedal means that their front limbs, their arms, were short and provided with huge claws that would be used for grasping and tearing at their prey. I see them as kind of a two-legged tiger with huge claws on his front limbs, dashing in and ripping and tearing and then leaping back. And of course, this is what we believe, at least some paleontologists believe, was the reason why the dinosaurs went on to rule the world for the next 150 million years.
Eoraptor and Herrerasaurus are the closest thing paleontologists have to a dinosaurian Adam and Eve. Their upright stance set them apart from the reptiles and freed their hands for deadly mischief.
What we're seeing in these early dinosaur predators is the evolution of a grasping forearm, a forearm that is no longer specialized for locomotion, but rather the animal's balancing on its hind limbs, and clearly it's got a semi-opposable thumb and a very prominent hand and hand claws to go about grabbing something while on the run.
Eoraptor and Herrerasaurus must have terrorized the same forest some 223 million years ago. Their fossils have been found in the same sediments in the Valley of the Moon. But in size and design, Eoraptor already seemed simple, while Herrerasaurus was an omen of things to come. At 15 feet long and over 500 pounds, it could overpower as well as outmaneuver its prey. And it evolved yet another hallmark of future killers, a more powerful jaw.
Herrerasaurus in the lower jaw, it has a flexible lower jaw. There's a little joint in the middle of the lower jaw which allowed the animal to actually clamp down on struggling prey.
Herrerasaurus would pass this remarkable jaw down the predatory line all the way to the last and greatest of its kind, Tyrannosaurus rex. The fossil-rich Valley of the Moon has presented the expedition with another gift and another window into the ancient world of the first dinosaurs. It is a perfectly preserved skeleton of a rhynchosaur, one of those squat, hapless reptiles on which the Herrerasaurus mercilessly preyed.
Here we found one of the best rhynchosaur skeletons that I think anybody's ever found anywhere. It's a remarkable skeleton. Every single bone of the body is complete and well preserved. And that is so unusual to find. Not only that, but he's spread out in the anatomical position as if he were on a laboratory dissecting table. The details on this specimen are incredible, right down to the claws on the tips of the fingers. This, for example, is a claw that would fit on the finger about like this. The tip of it is the only part broken off. And we assume these were used for digging, as the animals were somewhat like pigs and probably had a rooting habit or looking for vegetation. They had these large claws on all of their fingers that would have helped them dig up roots or other kinds of vegetation.
The world into which the dinosaurs were born was distinctly not a tranquil place. It was dominated by animals headed down a quite different evolutionary path. Creatures like the strange sailback Dimetrodon, half reptile, half mammal. These mammal-like reptiles were larger, fiercer, and far more numerous than the first primitive dinosaurs, and should have outcompeted them for prey. Fossils of mammal-like reptiles also dominate the red sediments of the Valley of the Moon, presenting paleontologists with a puzzle. How did the dinosaurs ever get off the evolutionary starting line?
This animal, the cynodont, Exoretodon, was one of those mammal-like reptiles that played such a tremendous role in the origin of dinosaurs, and they're the ones that should have gone on to dominate the terrestrial world. Instead of dinosaurs, they were almost like mammals. They disappeared, leaving behind their descendants, the true mammals, as little tiny animals that spent 150 million years hiding out from dinosaurs. And instead, the dinosaurs, who should have been slow-witted reptiles, took over the world and totally dominated every ecological environment for 150 million years.
$210 million years ago, in the last days of the Triassic, the world was changing. Small, agile killers flourished and spread around what was then the supercontinent of Pangaea, like Styracosaurus, found in what is today Brazil. In southern Africa, Syntarsus. And its remarkably similar North American cousin, Coelophysis. Captured in their death throes, frozen in time, dozens of these little dinosaurs fossils were found in New Mexico in 1947. Adults, adolescents, and young animals alike, entombed in a sort of primeval Pompeii. Today, paleontologists are teasing the remains of the oldest dinosaurs of North America out of the rocks of Ghost Ranch. Fleet, fierce little dinosaurs like Coelophysis represent the changing of the guard at the end of the Triassic. It was the quick and the vicious who would inherit the earth. And so the descendants of Eoraptor and Herrerasaurus, who retained a taste for flesh, all bore the unmistakable stamp of the predator. Dinosaurs that are separated by millions of years in time and by orders of magnitude and size are just variations on a deadly theme. Based on their strong family resemblance, paleontologists call all of the carnivorous dinosaurs theropods, meaning beast foot. These, then, are the hallmarks of all the killing cousins of the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous, balancing on clawed feet, the long tail and the compact chest, small, slender arms for grasping, and the remarkable head, in itself a fearsome weapon, the deadly engineering of a powerful, double-hinged jaw. It was, in the classically Darwinian mode, a case of success breeding success, or if you happen to be an unfortunate member of the prey species, terror breeding terror. Though the basic model remained the same, evolution would drive different species to hone different aspects to predatory perfection. Some would become the fleetest animals ever to stride the ancient earth, a class of ostrich-like dinosaurs called ornithomimids, meaning bird mimics. The ostrich-like mimicking ornithomimuses, like Gallimimus, pursued smaller game, lizards and insects, at a top speed of about 60 miles per hour. 125 million years ago, a new line of dinosaur predators were making their spectacular debut. Only recently discovered, these dinosaurs, it seemed, would choose to perfect every weapon in the deadly arsenal of the dinosaur predator. The early Cretaceous is a time we know little about. In these layers, the fossils are particularly elusive. But in 1991, in the early Cretaceous deposits of Utah, Dynamation Society paleontologist Jim Kirkland brought one dinosaur roaring to life. This is Utahraptor, 20 feet long, over 1,000 pounds. It wielded one of the most frightening weapons ever devised, a spring-loaded, razor-sharp sickle claw, more than a foot long.
This pit right here was the attachment for a very powerful tendon that would wrap under the foot and up into the calf muscle. When this animal employed the claw, this tendon would snap it down and it would go through a full 180-degree arc around its foot. Effectively, with the length of the claw itself, this would make a cut more than 2 foot long. However, we also have to consider it was holding on to its prey with its forearms and then kicking out with both hind feet like a cat, probably doing this once per second and a half. Each time it would cut, it would make a cut 5 to 6 foot long, slashing through an animal, probably between the ribs. Doing this several times, it would slice between each rib, opening its belly like an accordion, and its viscera would drop out, and the animal would proceed to feed on the dying dinosaur that it had attacked. A very vicious animal indeed.
Utahraptor spawned a line of raptors called dromaeosaurs that would terrorize the rest of the Cretaceous, other sickle-clawed killers like the Deinonychus and the Velociraptor, but following an evolutionary path that seemed somehow backwards.
So we start looking at the pattern, we see a very interesting pattern. Utahraptor, 1,000 pounds in the early Cretaceous. As we get to the late early Cretaceous, Deinonychus, 100 pounds. Late Cretaceous, Velociraptor, about 50 pounds. They're getting progressively smaller. If we look at most other groups of organisms, elephants, horses, the first ones are small and they get progressively larger through time. It's a very unusual pattern and nearly unique for these groups, the dromaeosaurs.
There are very few things a predator can trade for sheer size or strength and still survive. The raptors were almost certainly investing in the most dangerous weapon of all, intelligence. The dromaeosaur Deinonychus, or terrible claw, revolutionized our perception of dinosaurs as lumbering creatures. Deinonychus was clearly built for speed and multiplied its deadliness by hunting in packs. Velociraptor, the dread star of Jurassic Park, was probably not as uncannily intelligent as the movie portrayed, but it too was cunning enough to successfully hunt larger dinosaurs. A stunning fossil find in Mongolia revealed a Velociraptor and the Protoceratops locked in mortal combat. It was here in Alberta, Canada, that the real genius of the Cretaceous emerged. An animal whose brain, by the standards of the time, was simply enormous. known only by a handful of teeth, Troodon eluded paleontologists for decades. Tyrrell Museum paleontologist Phil Curry is the world's leading expert on predatory dinosaurs.
In 1982, we were working in this area and we found a skull from a small carnivorous dinosaur called Troodon. And it's the best skull that's ever been found of that animal. What it reveals to us is that Troodon was a very large-brained animal, in fact, the largest brained dinosaur known. We found a lower jaw which had both the teeth and the jaw itself. We have a pretty good idea what Troodon is. And that little dinosaur was fast. It ran around on its hind legs, which were very long and built for speed. But like Velociraptor, it had a large toe on the inside of its foot, which was raised above the ground, and had a big curved claw that it used to slash its prey, probably in the belly region. So in addition to being the most intelligent dinosaur, a dinosaur that's closely related to birds, it was also a nasty little animal that probably captured his prey with a lot of ease.
But its nastiness and eating efficiency would not save Troodon from the fate that took all the dinosaurs at the end of the Cretaceous. Troodon had everything going for it. It was intelligent, lethal, and had plenty of food available. But its nastiness and eating efficiency could not save Troodon. 65 million years ago, at the end of the Cretaceous, the extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs didn't spare Troodon. It is perhaps the greatest puzzle of dinosaur extinction. The parched earth of the valley is a great stage in which the dinosaurs made their auspicious debut. The team carefully prepare the specimens for transport back to the lab.
Wait a minute. You're going to have a snag in there. Fill that in with plaster, please. Oscar.
For Dr. William Sill, the Valley of the Moon has produced treasures from the age of dinosaurs, the first primitive dinosaur predators, their hapless prey, and a new mystery.
Okay, good. Looking good. It'll be our first complete skeleton of we don't know what. We think it's a ceratosaur. Okay. La posición, anote la posición.
If the Valley of the Moon has a tale to tell, it is this. In the evolutionary dance of life and death, it is the predator who leads. The neat design of the beast foot, the two-legged killer, legs tucked under, grasping forearms, slicing claws, gaping jaws, and the glimmerings of deadly intelligence helped catapult the dinosaurs to world dominance. The predators would come and go. It was the design that would not die. Even the deaths of the dinosaurs could not extinguish the design itself, for the mark of the predator remains with us to this day. The predatory dinosaurs have simply taken to the skies.